A brief early history of the Lafayette Valley Estates as we take a ride down a few of its streets. Starting with a few newspaper clips from the early 50s, ending with a few photos and memories from folks that grew up in this idyllic neighborhood. This 1953 map shows the neighborhood pretty much as it was originally laid out when the development first came to be around 1950. This map was part of an ad placed in The Independent, a Richmond-based newspaper which published it, and the following two slides April 20, 1951, giving potential buyers an idea where it was and how to get there. This model home drawing is pretty typical of the homes initially offered there. The development offered large tree-studded lots, East Bay mud water, paved streets, gas, electricity, telephone lines, and sewers. The Dudley de Velbus Company were the builders, and they were located on Mount Diablo Boulevard, which at the time was also called the Tunnel Road and State Highway 24. These homes were available to those eligible for GI loans at an interest rate of 4%. A $13,000 home could be yours for $2,750, which covered closing costs and your down payment. Persons not eligible for GI loans needed $3,900 for closing costs and down payment at an interest rate set at 4.5% for the balance. This ad placed in The Independent March 7, 1952 described the neighborhood in these glowing terms. In the beautiful Lafayette Moraga area surrounded by the majestic Moraga Hills with cattle grazing in the distance, paved streets, and city conveniences at your doorstep. Every 1/4 acre site has its own individuality due to the irregularities of nature, the variety of cultivation under the former ranches, and, more recently, the judicious use of modern grading equipment. Every house has its own individuality, because of exterior structural lines, color combinations, and its placement on the building site. These are 3-bedroom ranch-type homes with attached double garages. Mail delivery is provided, and your children will be taken to school and back home again in no-fare buses. The neighbors are grand folks. It's worth the price of the house to live among such people and bring up your children in this kind of environment. We can't explain why so many nice people found their way into one community, unless it's because people who seek this type of surroundings are especially likable and worthwhile. This Independent June 6, 1952 ad described the neighborhood as a home you can afford. You need not overextend yourself to have the benefits of living in this area, and plenty of room both indoors and out. $14,000 pays for a ranch-type home on a 1/4 acre site. These homes featured 3 large bedrooms with sliding door wardrobe closets, a 20 by 14 living room, separate dining room, kitchen with windows facing both street and backyard, an electric garbage disposal, custom-built U-shaped cabinets, coved linoleum, and plenty of room for dining. Bathrooms have an electric heater, a separate stall shower, a recessed tub, and a tiled floor. They also featured conventional floors with easy-to-access plumbing underneath and fine oak strip flooring throughout the house. All said and done, 1,270 square feet of well-arranged living space. Leap year ladies' choice. You girls who already have your man need a home to keep him happy. Use your leap year privileges to show him what a buy he can make in Lafayette Valley Estates. This ad was placed February 29, 1952. Have you ever heard of Ladies' Choice leap year privileges? Jumping ahead to an ad placed April 30, 1955. You can live in the Lafayette area with no down payment to qualified veterans and payments of only $91 per month. You'll live the happiest years of your life in your own Lafayette Valley Estates home. Built by C. Dudley de Velbus Company, whose claim to fame was from tree to key. These Lafayette Valley Estates model homes were furnished by the Lafayette Furniture Company. The next 6 slides were placed in the Contra Costa Times. This one is dated April 19, 1964. Prices are just starting to escalate. This one was placed for a home near the corner of Mildred and Lucille, June 5, 1966. This ad placed October 16, 1967 offered an assumable loan at 5.25% with no points. Jumping ahead to June 4, 1975, a Lafayette Valley Estates cream puff was being offered for $52,950. This love bug was offered for $84,500 May 14, 1978. And finally, this home at 3334 North Lucille was being offered for $84,950 with a warning to get there quick, as their previous listing had recently sold in just one day. Homes here today are selling for much more than 10 times this amount. This 1956 map shows a few of the streets have been added to the neighborhood over the past 5 years. Now for a few stories from folks that have fond memories of this neighborhood. Rich Cordes' home was on the corner of Florence and Mildred. This snowy day photo was taken in the mid-70s. Rich grew up there starting in 1957 at age 2, to 1978 when he moved out after college and started a career. Dad died in '79 and Mom lived there until she passed in 2006. It has been said before, but I feel very fortunate to have grown up there at that time. It was idyllic. I taught at Stanley Middle School 1994 to 2015, and had students who lived in Lafayette Valley Estates. Greg Burnside's family moved to a house on the corner of Dawkins Drive and Helen Lane in 1951, when his father, who was in the Navy, bought the house presumably with the help of the GI Bill. They lived there from 1951, when Greg was a year-old rascal, until 1961 when they moved to Burton Valley Estates. Greg's dad finally sold that house in 2013. Ken Oram lived on Betty Lane from 1959 until 1970. I'm not really sure how much my parents paid for the house, somewhere around $20,000 I believe. I couldn't believe about 6 years ago a friend of mine that lived on the same street told me my parents' house was up for sale for something like $1.3 million. We had an awesome childhood living there. Went to Burton School and then on to Fairview Junior High and then on to Del Valle in Walnut Creek for 1 year and then we moved. So many great memories living there. Photo of the Sacramento Northern Freight Train cruising by Lafayette Valley Estates circa 1957 just before it shut down. Nancy Week Wallen's family lived on North Lucille Lane from 1958 to 2021 when her mom passed on. Lafayette Valley Estates was like Mayberry and we were such fortunate kids to live in that little valley with access to amazing schools. Sweet memories. Pamela Hollock Hanamoto still lives at 467 Helen Avenue, which was the home of the Horowitz family when my parents moved to Lafayette. In 1970, the Horowitz sold the house to the Hanamoto family, who moved here from Berkeley. Fred Hanamoto came to Burton when I was in 6th grade. The Hanamotos lived in the house and when they passed it went to Fred. Fred and I got married and remodeled the house in 2014, and we are still living in the house today. A few photos of Scott Bohannon, who lived at 3338 Mildred from 1954 to 1963. Cynthia Volkwardson DeYoung's parents purchased their first home at 3319 Helen Lane in 1951, and then moved to 3514 Hamlin Road where she was the producer's next-door neighbor. She recalls that they had an old well under the deck growing up. My brother's family has also lived in this neighborhood for 25 years or so, and they love it. Many thanks to the members of the Lafayette Facebook group who shared their memories on the Lafayette Valley Estates post, a few of which were shared here. Newspaper clips from newspapers.com, video and photos from the producer Mark Harrigan. Additional photos from the Contra Costa County Historical Society, the East Bay Hills Project and the members of the 68024 Corridor History Group. Background music from Facebook Studio titled Rainy Sunday by Nick Gallant. This video can be shared from my page. Thanks for watching.